to the Spaces Art Foundation. We're outside in the parking lot, so it might get loud if cars go by or if people walk by. My name's Mary Ann Chappell. I'm the founder of the Spaces Art Foundation, and I'm here with Dawn Lowndes, who is our resident artist, and I'm super excited that she's here. She's a very, very dedicated artist. She's been working her butt off here at Spaces every day, making art that is culminating in an exhibition on January 8th. So January 8th, we will have an opening night here live, and we'll also be live on Instagram again. And her show is going to be collaborating with some Booker High School dancers. So our local high school, which is an art school, students are going to be dancing, acting out some of the spiritual motifs that are playing off of Dawn's work. So you can see that live at 7:15, January 8th on spaces.art as well. But we're here to talk to Dawn, and let's see, where do you want to begin, Dawn? How has the art residency experience been, just being here and being away from everything that's comfortable in this cold, it's been cold here in Florida, and we don't have heat in the art studio that she's been in. What's it been?
Experientially, it has been a complete escape from my normal routines and my normal things that inspire me. Because of that, I have been able to not be in a comfort zone with my art making and ideas. So it's actually been kind of experimental in a way, because I've had to kind of look for found stuff. As a matter of fact, a couple minutes ago I walked down and was digging in the trash to get some more materials, but it's been very nicely challenging, so that it's making my art expand, because the known objects, the known ideas, the known spaces have all been removed, and because of that, I am able to really have some nice changes happen in my work.
Great.
My just for those who do or don't know, I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I have a studio in North Carolina outside of Asheville, and I am very aware of how place can influence your work, and being in the space and actually being in the space for a 31-day, I set the parameters of 31 days for the installation experiential work, and having that be part of my experience for the residency has grown me out of a comfort zone, and it's created expansion in my work. And it's almost been like a retreat-like atmosphere, because it's so quiet, and even though, you know, we all, and part of my work is talking about 2020 isolation, you know, being cast into inward experience, and that's what the work is actually about. If you come to look at it, it's being cast into the inward experience of processing out 2020. So I've had a lot of time to emote, re-experience, catharsis through some of the early days were very uncomfortable, and I've worked through a lot of anxiety and you know, angst, and now I'm kind of, you know, it's day 19 of, you know, it's December 19th, I started on the 1st, and it's day 19, and things are starting to become a little more well-rounded, and it feels better. The first week was just I don't even know how to explain. I was just wrestling all through the materials, through the imagery, through the experience. Part of my experience is meditation in the morning. I couldn't get settled, so it's been challenging in the way that a residency is supposed to be, to move work, progress, and I, in my own artistic experience, am, I think, ready to have sort of go to the next step of what my work is going to be about, and I think that this is a wonderful takeoff.
It's been really fun to watch. I mean, I love watching how it changes every day, and how it's changed from December 1st, and I know that feeling because I've been on residencies too, and it's very awkward for me when I first arrive in a strange place and I don't know anybody,
Right.
and then you're given this space and it's like, here, go make art, and it's like, oh, I feel so weird here and I'm uncomfortable, and then you get used to the space, and I kind of watched you go through that, and just watching how the art has changed, and then suddenly you're just using these materials, and it's been fabulous to just see you take things that are just like, I don't know, you when the viewers come or they watch on Instagram, if you can't come in person, the materials are fabulous. I mean, she has everything on this wall. She's used one wall in particular to be the meat of the whole show. There's one focused piece, and it's the culmination of everything I think that the world has gone through in 2020, and of course Dawn's own personal experiences of 2020. You can see that coming out in the work, and through all of the symbolism and through all of the materials that are representing that evolution of the wall. And I was just wondering what your practice, like, I know you have a certain practice or a process because you have to come here at a certain time and you have a certain kind of ritual. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So one of the things that I've done with my work in general, and in grad school and through time, I have been very interested in time-based artworks and things that change and develop over time, that have sort of a creative patina, and that time either decays or makes something. And as a matter of fact, an example of that is I have a set of clay doll heads that I've been photographing for 4 years that are decaying in the woods at my studio. So that's, reversing time, but things that are time constraints or time indicative are very interesting to me. So part of me preparing to come here was to set up some parameters related to time. And the parameters that I set up were that I would start on December the 1st at 8 a.m. I would work daily from 8 to 3. So in that time frame, no matter what happens, whether I'm at a grocery store trying to get lunch, whether I've retreated to the wonderful beaches here, amazing. Not warm now, but amazing. I'm still in the art making mindset. And I also, so that will last until December the 31st at 3 p.m. So I will stop making, if you will, at that point. And so that's where I set up the time constraints. Those constraints are in order for a couple of reasons I felt were relative. One is it's December of 2020. It's processing and finishing the 12th month of a year that has been incredibly challenging for everybody, and me as well. And I believe that a lot of what I've heard artists and even non-art people talk about is how it has manifested their work, or things have changed for them related to their creativity. So I think it's a very appropriate way to isolate that last month. So that's a thing. And then also for me individually as an artist, I tend to get a little obsessive. Strange for an artist to be obsessive, but I will start working and not stop and just kind of keep going until I wear myself completely flat. And I didn't want to do that. I was like, I want to be able to sustain a period of time there and actually have a more eased in creative process. So that's why I set the 8 to 3 parameter. And then the way I do during the day, what I do is I come in at 8 o'clock. I missed one morning, I have to be honest. I was so tired. I didn't make it until like 8:30. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it at 8:30. And I made it up at the end of the day. But and that's the kind of obsession that I'm talking about. I'm a rule follower. I make rules, I follow them. And so I come in and I do a 30-minute meditation, and the real meat of this installation is more about a performative aspect that allows me to connect to a internal self a self, a higher, more evolved self, if you will, an artistically, creatively, personally, spiritually evolved self that informs what's going to happen during the day. And to stay authentic to that, to not question that. So what I do is I actually, in that 30-minute process, get centered, and I wait. And I have literally, in a book that will be on display during the show, have written down one. So there's maybe some jottings, but there are perfect instructions that are numbered in there that are telling me this is what you will actually do today. And I followed the directions almost to the T. And that's where the work's coming from. Now, of course, you know, I have a background in art, so it is informed by artistic, intuitive practice as well. But those are the parameters that I've set up to inform the work. As far as, and this may, you know, if you come to the show or you're able, there are a tremendous amount of materials involved. And I mean, glue, paint. I've used the ashes from the meditation because I burn sage. I've used wax I've used everything that's at my fingertips to create the stuff: drawing, pencil, paint, fabric, paper, trash, metal. I mean, all kinds of stuff that is very interesting. Yeah, that's a lot, right? That's a lot. So.
It is a lot, but it is really, really interesting. And I love the process too, because I know how it is, you know, I don't think non-artists understand the difficulty of being an artist, like what goes in, you know, how to make art, all of the art education that kind of actually can screw up. And well, I'll speak for myself, but I know I've spoken to a lot of other artists too from our background in education, kind of messes with the authenticity of what comes out, you know, what comes in our head and in our hearts and then out our hands, and how to keep that real. And I think this process that you're talking about, oh, I feel choked up, that's really nice. You know, you can feel that, like your tears are coming, that there's an authenticity there, and your process. And what you didn't mention is Dawn actually built I call it a house, but she calls it an altar, but it's a house with an altar inside of it that you have to crawl in, and it's like a spiritual cave, like a mystic cave that you crawl in and you write, and she burns her incense or the sage and the candles, and that's where those authentic instructions come from. And how did you get the inspiration to build that altar / house? Where did that come from?
That's a very incredible question. I have the great fortune of having friends in Santa Fe, New Mexico, one of whom is actually coming to the opening.
Oh, great.
But I traveled out through the Southwest, and one of the things that just captured my imagination was the roadside, where people have passed, where the little roadside impromptu altars. And I became intrigued with the idea of a portrait altars. And in my studio in North Carolina, there are like 3 or 4 portraits that I've created that are individually sized altars that are probably about, I don't know, waist high, and meant to kneel and honor and address the person that it was made after. And when I was doing that, I was like, okay, I'm going to create like a little miniature church to go into, and you know, so altars are something that are very interesting to me, and it has everything to do with the impromptu altars in New Mexico, visiting cathedrals. It's amazing to me the thrust, the desire to honor something outside of self. And you can see it all along the highway. You'll see it in other places, but in New Mexico, it's just fundamentally charming all the way through, no matter where you go.
That's so cool. I've seen that there as well. And the thing about your altar or your house or your church that's really cool is that you have to kneel to get down. Do you
That
wanna
was
talk about
absolutely intentional, and that you have to kneel to get in it. When I had it, I actually had it constructed, and I did the decorative stuff. But the guy was like, you know, I work a lot with cabinet people in North Carolina because their craft is incredible. And he says, well, you know, we want to make it this way. I said, nope. We have to be. You have to kneel to get in it. You can't. Even if you walk in trying to stoop, it does not work. You have to get on your knees. And there's also, you know, things that it can allow the viewer to be able to understand that yes, there's a pillow here. You're on your knees. It's giving all the markers of the submission posture. Submission.
I was gonna say like honoring.
Yes.
Kneeling before, honoring the,
Yes.
and in your case, or maybe my case as well, honoring the art gods, because you're asking for information to make the work today, and it's kind of like a thank you, an opening as well to receive.
I'm not as I don't get caught in the language of the posture of all that, but when it comes to, I believe that there is a thrust to create, and it's larger than us, and that to be able to tap into that energy is something that most artists understand. They just understand that someone asked me a question the other day, said, what inspires you? And I thought, well, that's a really odd question. It's a legitimate question, but to me it was an odd question. Like, I just make stuff. I have to make. It's almost as if I'm a cog in a machine that turns that way. I mean, and then I'm like, well, I just make stuff, and then this stuff comes out. And but I was like, what a great question. What does inspire me? But I never, you know, the answers. That's probably a thesis away.
Now, the title is called Holy Fool, and that goes, I think it directly relates to everything we've already been talking about and the culmination of 2020, and to me it sounds like a search, or the fool, the holy fool, I don't know, like the one that thinks he's holy but he's a fool, so he doesn't know that it's there already and he's not seeing it, or something along those lines. But I'm just making this up from my own interpretation. I know it's a mashup because it's spelled W-H-O-L-L-Y. It's not holy as you would think, H-O-L-Y. So tell us a little bit about your holy fool.
Oh, the rabbit hole. So to be tricky, if you will, the rabbit is what my view because I have imagery of a rabbit that repeatedly show up in my work, and it has to do with the trickster, and you know, that literary, I guess it's a trope. I mean, it's literally this rabbit that shows up in my psyche, and I understood reading that it's a literary device in Russian literature, that the holy fool, H-O-L-Y-F-O-O-L, has shown up numerous times in Russian literature, and one of the mostly ubiquitous uses is Rasputin, who if you don't know what Rasputin is in Russian, look it up. It's worth an adventure, a Wikipedia adventure. Watch out for the rabbit hole. But to me, when I looked it up and it said holy, H-O-L-Y, fool, F-O-O-L, I said, well, we're going to mash this up. So we're going to be like holy as in wholeness, fool as in fullness. So if I'm completely filled with this creative inspiration, that it comes from somewhere. It's that link to it's coming from somewhere. And I, of course, created a wonderful little caricature of a rabbit that kind of embodies that for me. And this rabbit shows up throughout my work. And it's kind of uncontrollable, to be honest with you. And I like the fact that it's a trickster. It also, works with tarot, with the magician. It's the court jester in Europe. It shows up variously through most cultures, and for me, it shows up as a rabbit. And I was telling Mary Ann that I wrote a novel. It hadn't been published or anything. Haven't gotten that far, but the character in there that is the rabbit is named Rasputin, and that's where it all kind of like started developing into a solid idea. And coming into this residency is actually giving me the fortification to start to continue to develop that idea. And I guess the only way I can say it is it feels like it's really going somewhere now. And for that, I mean, I'm going to be here till the 31st, but for me, I am filled with that developing idea. And when you're in the middle of developing an idea, and I evolve so quickly. That's one of the things I know about my work. It evolves so quickly that it's hard to keep up with it in my own experience with it. And so it can change from day to day, and a lot of times I'll try to frame it, and then I'm like, didn't work. But there are some things that just show up again and again and again, and this rabbit is one of them. And I hope I answered your question a little bit.
Yes, absolutely. It's so interesting, and I think the wall, or the main focus piece of the exhibition, puts that all into a visual narrative or a story about the Holy Fool and the rabbit, and it's almost like the journey of the Holy Fool, or mapping out the Holy Fool's experience, or the psyche of it,
or whatever.
All of the above.
All of the above. Everything from here up about the rabbit is on that wall. And I sit there sometimes. So I get up from the meditation and I think, okay, silly rabbit. This is the way I dialogue with it when I'm poking fun. Is silly rabbit tricks are for kids, and I talk to it, and then I wait, and then I have to ask myself: is the mark that I'm getting ready to make actually authentic, or is it just a trick? And and I measure that, and I say, you're just putting something there to put something there. It's not authentic, and then I back off and I wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great place to close, and it's like full circle, because we started with authenticity when we started talking at the beginning of this conversation. So it's been really great to talk with you, Dawn, and what a wonderful experience watching the whole thing evolve. And it's been like a mini, I don't know, just watching it happen has been like a 2020 compilation in 19 days, and it's really exciting. And
hopefully we don't get any new material.
And there's still, I don't know what, 11 more days to 12 more days to go.
Yep.
So I'm sure it will evolve more. I hope you all can join us either on Instagram Live, here at spaces.art on January 8th, and you will also have the Booker High School dancers enacting the tarot cards of the moon and the sun and various others, and we'll do a detailed walkthrough of the imagery created by Dawn. And do we have any questions, Sophia?
Yeah, we actually have someone asking how Sarasota has inspired Dawn specifically.
Oh, good one. Has Sarasota...
What has been interesting about Sarasota is, I will tell you, one of the things that's been interesting to me about Sarasota is it's not warm. I was delusional to think it was going to be warm all the time, and that I think has been to my benefit because I haven't been compelled to run off to the beach too much. But Sarasota itself is, and you know, I have to be really careful how much I expose because I have a mind that just shoots into space. But Ringling, just the whole idea of the Ringling. And another thing that is previously inspired me is I am going up to St. Pete actually to see the Dolly museum. You have to wait, you can't just go. I wanted to go the other day, but being on the coast here, I know it's an hour away, but my paintings, my pre-residency paintings that started to inform this work are after the Dolly Tarot, which was republished in January. So I'm really excited about that. And I did see a image the other day on Instagram about the museum locally that just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get in there. But I have to be very careful not to get too exposed to other things because it takes me out of my own circle.
That was the only question we had.
Sophia has been helping us. She's amazing. And thanks, Sophia, for all your help. And thank you, Dawn. And I guess that's it. So
Thank you.
you're
It's been
welcome.
wonderful being here.
We'll sign off. Thank you, everybody.